Justice and Correctional Services Minister Ronald Lamola says former President Jacob Zuma will be eligible for parole after serving a quarter of his 15-month jail sentence. Zuma will be in isolation at the Estcourt Correctional Facility in KwaZulu-Natal for the next 14 days. So let's find out more about his arrest. We're joined by our senior reporter, Dasen Tatia, who is outside that facility. Dasen, thank you so much for making time. I believe you have Carl Niehaus there.
That's right, Clement, but I'll get to that in a second. Let me just paint a picture for you of what's happening outside the Estcourt Correctional Services Facility. You'll see behind me that the road has been cordoned off there. That is the road that leads to the prison. It's also the area where you would have seen our colleague Aviwe Mtila standing yesterday when that convoy drove in with the former president inside. So that area has now been cordoned off. And just outside, just a few meters away from that, another group has now gathered, and that's the group that you're probably seeing behind me. This group is currently being addressed by Carl Niehaus. I just want to see if I can get in here and get a few words.
But we came here...
Mr. Niehaus?
I am busy with... even if you guys have a deadline, I'm busy addressing my comrades. You will wait until I'm finished, then I will address you.
That's completely fine. So clearly Carl Niehaus doesn't want to speak at this point, but just the gist of what he's been saying to those that he's been addressing outside here is that he feels that it's pretty much a repetition of the messages that he's been relaying outside the former president's home, where he's been talking about the incarceration of the former president there. But I can tell you this, the police are not necessarily happy with what they're calling an illegal gathering that's taking place outside here. They were quite cagey about exactly how they want to handle it, but they were concerned about even members of the media that were standing around after that press briefing with the Minister Ronald Lamola as well, and they were making sure that immediately after that ended that people were dispersed. But nevertheless, this has been continuing for about the last 15 or 20 minutes outside here. But as I mentioned, they were discussing how they are going to be dealing with this.
Yeah, and we'll get to what happened earlier with the Justice Minister shortly, Dasen. But I'm just interested to find out, what is it that Carl Niehaus and his comrades could actually do? They're outside the facility. I'm not sure. What directives is he giving his comrades?
That's exactly the first question that was on my mind, actually, Clement, and it was the one that I was hoping that I could get in now, because that is the question of what next. Apart from this, there've also been vehicles that have been traveling through the CBD. Let me just move out of the way. I see one of the police vehicles is coming into shot here, Clement. I believe this is one of the public order policing vehicles that was deployed here shortly after this gathering had started. But there were also other supporters that had been traveling through the city center here. They had supporters at the back. They were waving flags and they were hooting as they made their way through. So certainly some activity outside, but it begs the question, and I hope that that's either answered in this address that's happening behind me, or if Carl Niehaus does actually speak after this, we'll be able to get those answers.
Yeah, I mean, another question is, in what capacity is he addressing those comrades? Because he has been temporarily suspended. That's his membership. Is suspended from the ANC. All right, let's talk about what happened earlier. We now understand that the former president will have to undergo various processes at that particular facility. What can you tell us more? You were there with the Justice Minister earlier.
Now I can.
I'll come to that in a second. Mr. Niehaus, are you sure that you have a second now?
I have. I'm finished.
Okay, let me ask you this very important question. So, I see that you have been addressing your supporters, and I did hear some of it. But I think the main question is, what are you hoping to achieve?
What am I
hoping to achieve by the gathering outside?
I'm achieving registering our support for President Zuma. President Zuma is here inside this facility with high walls and fences. It is painful to know that he's here.
But what can you, apart from the support, which we've seen outside his home as well, what more would this be able to do to the situation that the former president is facing currently?
We will continue to register our opposition today, tomorrow, and the day after. We will continue to mobilize to get more people to come here and to register their opposition.
In what capacity are you speaking to?
I spoke
these
here
people?
as the national spokesperson and member of the National Executive Committee of MKMVA. And that position was reaffirmed last night by an extended meeting of the National Executive Committee of MKMVA, where it was stated that MKMVA is not disbanded. MKMVA will continue to support Msholozi 100%, and I've been authorized to bring that message. Yes, last night I brought it to President Zuma at Nkandla when I met with him. I was also authorized to bring it here today at this prison.
Are you not worried about this gathering and your address here now affecting the situation that you're currently facing, and that's your temporary suspension?
I'm not speaking here as a member of the African National Congress. I'm speaking here in my personal capacity, on the one hand, as Carl Niehaus, a liberation fighter, and secondly, and very importantly, I'm speaking as the national spokesperson for MKMVA, so I'm not talking in any way as an individual. I'm talking here on behalf of the collective.
But you're talking to ANC members, though, because I'm looking at the colours as well behind you. I mean, as much as you're talking in your own capacity, I just want to understand who it is that you are addressing.
So tell me, is it impossible for any person who walks down the street, who meets a number of people who have ANC T-shirts on, not to talk to them?
No, I'm just asking for clarity, Mr. Niehaus.
No, thank you, but I think you got clarity that there is freedom of speech in this country. And there is absolutely nothing in terms of even a suspension that prevent me from meeting, engaging and greeting another fellow human being who happened to wear an ANC T-shirt.
But what about this being a gathering which even the police were concerned about? They were even telling us to disperse earlier, and they were concerned about another illegal gathering outside the prison.
You see, that is what the media has become. You trying to be lawyers, you're trying to be prosecutors.
No, but that's the regulation currently.
No, the regulation indicates to us that there can be people around. We manage those processes. We try to comply with COVID-19 regulations under difficult circumstances.
So what do you call this?
No, please. You ask me a question, and then when I answer you and you don't like my answer, you interrupt me.
I'm asking for clarity. That's why I interrupted
you. And then you give me the chance to give you clarity. You look here, you see the comrades and members of the public who are here, they've got their masks on. We are trying to be compliant as much as possible. But neither you, as the media, nor anyone else should try to use the COVID-19 regulations as a tool to muzzle legitimate expression of opposition to injustice. And what we've seen here at this prison facility is injustice.
So my closing question to you is then, how long do you intend to register your support, as you put it, outside the prison without contravening those current regulations which prohibit the gatherings?
For as long as it's necessary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Niehaus, for your time. Clement? So as you hear that message, as long as necessary, I'd like to know exactly how long that is, but no clear answer there. But despite that, it seems like these supporters are going to be here for a while, and you've heard quite clearly the message there. It's a continuation of the message that we've been hearing from outside the former president's home in the past few days.
Dasan, thank you so much for making time. Yeah, thanks for asking those critical questions. He says he's engaging with other human beings, and he wants to argue that there's a regulation that allows people to gather in that way. What regulation is that? That's the suspended member of the ANC who's the spokesperson for the MKMVA.